Randy, we've got a problem.
What?
They go.
Reality's here. He's trying to crash the party. Reality? Who let him in?
You're sad that people are mean? Well, I'm sorry. The world isn't one big liberal arts college campus.
I don't have an agenda like I want people to do something. I need them to do something. I want them to avoid irrationality.
I guess what interests me is just like what interests everybody else. It's just sort of what feels real.
That was totally wicked!
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else. You don't have to consider yourself a lady or a gentleman. I don't even care. We're accepting of all worldviews, all ideologies.
No, you're a little gentleman. That's what you are.
You're a little gentleman. That's just me. I'm the only
and ladies
gentleman
too.
here.
You're ladies too.
That's right. That's right. Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to another edition of Real News in your morning time, 9:02 Central, 10:02 Eastern. We'll go with the Eastern every single morning. It is Friday. Boom, boom, boom. Get ready for the weekend, everybody. Friday, October 9th. How is everybody doing this morning, man? I'm already seeing Kelly in there. Jonathan
It's the
in there wishing us
weekend,
good
baby.
morning. Weekend times are coming. Good morning to everyone. I hope everyone's in good spirits with a bunch of craziness going on across the country, across the world. Come do the Real News thing, man. Grow in your community, grow in friendship, grow with one another, help us progress, help us do this thing. That's why we do Real News. If you're brand new to the program and you just stumbled across us, some of this stuff sounds like broken record, but I do think it's vitally important to just say it every single day, just so we can reinforce why we do what we do here. What we do here at Real News for the brand new people. This is a community. We create a situation, a scenario by which we can have calm, cordial dialogue with one another so that we can actually have, I don't know, like actual disagreements. So when we do have those disagreements, we're having disagreements amongst friends and neighbors, not amongst enemies. And yes, I'm noticing as I'm moving around here, this green screen behind me is going a little haywire. It is what it is, man. We're going to roll with it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'll back up. Maybe we'll figure something else
And
out.
Haywire is a really good artist, dude. He is so good. So if you're going haywire, it's not the worst thing ever.
All right, that's true. I did it on purpose. Going haywire. Hey, that's that other voice you heard over there, by the way, is David Shine Thompson. How you doing this morning, buddy?
I'm absolutely fantastic. I don't have my stage light on. Hold on. There we go.
There it is.
Stage
Boom.
lighting. Boom.
Stage lighting.
I'm happy about Friday. I'm happy about doing the show with you today. I mean, how many weeks has it been, Mr. Henry, since we've been able to do 3 days in a row? It's been a while. It's been a while because we've been busy. It's election season, which means we have more work to do. But I'm happy that I took a week off, which allowed us to do 3 days in a row. Not 5 days in a row, weirdly enough, even though I took the week off. We have done 3 days in a row, and I'm proud of us.
Yeah, which is kind of a big deal, being that it's election season. We're talking once every 4 years, the job that Shannon and I do for a living here gets
Wild and crazy kids. It's
right.
All hands on deck.
It gets wild and crazy kids.
You wish you had 17 hands and 3 heads. That's what you wish you could do.
Oh, golly.
I called Grant yesterday afternoon. I'm like, dude, I want to talk to you about work. And he's like, dude, I'm working. I'm on my
way to work.
I'm on my way to working right now. I got this big thing, and all these people are showing up, and we're going to teach them how to be grassroots activists. It's going to be so cool. And I'm like, well, man, I wanted to talk to you. And he's, well, I couldn't do it because that's the way it's going. And that was like at 6 o'clock last night. You know, it's just never ending with this. But we're here. We're happy. We're full of excitement to talk to you and hang out with you today.
And speaking of talking to you, it's Friday. Y'all bring up literally any conversation, any topic you want to. I mean, if someone really gets bold enough and wants to call in and talk to us, I'll put the Google Voice number back up there. I don't even care. Just let us know in the chat.
Oh, he's crazy.
We did have someone yesterday actually ask in the YouTube comment section at the very end of the show. I wanted to say, like, where is this scrolling comment section coming from that's right here in the screen the whole time? The answer is everywhere. It's coming from Twitch, it's coming from Facebook, it's coming from YouTube. It's primarily coming from OBS, the awesome software, the Shine.
If you're on YouTube and you comment, it will pop up over here.
Yep.
Oh, wait. You can't see me. Next to Grant.
next to me over there. Hey, let's get into the news here, by the way. Another thing we do here for those brand new people, greatest audience in the nation appreciation segment. Quickly, let us know how you're doing, what you're struggling with, where you're at in life, what books you're reading through, need prayer concerns for anything, just need encouragement, want to celebrate something, you want us to celebrate something where you got something hype that happened in your life, let us get hype with you. That's what friends do with each other. We get hyped for each other, we build each other up, we encourage each other, or if you just need help with something, put that in the chat, reach out to us. What's up, buddy?
Grant, I got new blinds yesterday.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
New blinds.
Yeah, man.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, man. I got married, and then I'm like, you know what? We need more privacy.
You know what I am? What I am for that? I'm thankful.
Oh, man.
I'm thankful for those new blinds.
Dude, and like I woke up this morning, and it's like the sun didn't even come up in my bedroom. It was so dark. It was so dark, dude. Like my alarm went off. I'm like, something's broken. It's 5 a.m. No, it's 9:25. Mr. Henry's going to be sending me the show notes soon. But I'm very thankful for blinds.
There you go.
Today.
Blinds.com. By the way, get your blinds at blinds.com.
No, don't. I didn't buy them from Blind. They haven't given us any money. Don't promote them. I don't know where the blinds came from. They came. You know where they came from? My wife. That's where they came. I said, "Hey, wife. Could we get some blinds?" And then, like, literally the next day, she just drops this big box in my office. She says, "Put them up before the end of the day." That's the deal.
Oh, dude, by the way, big update, major news. Zig, our buddy Zig, just hit us up in the Facebook comment section. I just saw this breaking news. This is probably the top story of the day. Zig will be done knocking doors starting next Monday. That is massive. That's massive news. For two different reasons. One, that means Zig's weekly program, the Community Connections program. That's not the name of it.
Community something.
Oh, man, now I forgot. But the program he does every Monday night that I know some of y'all check out, he does it up in Pennsylvania. I'm assuming that will pick back up. And that also means that Zig can jump back on this program with us. Our boy Zig from Pennsylvania. Shout out to you, man. We love you. We miss you. He's good. He's done knocking doors next Monday, man. So there you go. He'll be back with us, I assume. That's awesome. Awesome news. All right, let's jump right into the news here. I'm going to do this here, Sean. We're going to start with local stories, but I'm going to jump down to a local story that feels like a national story because I just don't want to beat people over the head with this Nashville Taxpayer Protection Act stuff much anymore. There's a Washington Examiner story up there. I may get to it just to quickly go over the quick TLDR. Too long, didn't read it. That story, if I don't get back to it, is basically there was a statement that came out yesterday from Mayor Cooper's office that's making it look as if Mayor Cooper was not exactly being forthright about what needed to be cut. He said like a third of the entirety of government is going to have to be cut across the board. Schools, fire departments, police, healthcare workers, you're all losing jobs. Well, their office came out with a statement yesterday and said, no, it's not true, like at all. It's not true. In fact, they kind of confirmed that there are statutory limitations by which they cannot go below. And one of those primarily is it's near impossible. It's practically impossible, I'll say, to cut anything from school funding. So it's just not going to happen with schools. It's just not going to happen with
illegal,
police.
right? Like it's like there's statutory stuff. So you can't cut schools.
Below a certain operating capacity, I believe is what they're talking about. But read that story, Washington Examiner piece. It's a good piece here. Our own Tori Venables featured in that as well. I just wanted to bring it to people's attention because I'm assuming that's what's going to be cropping up some over the next couple of days here in the Nashville area is that Mayor Cooper for the last 3 weeks has been pitching this idea. We're going to have to cut it all. We're going to lose government. It'll be pandemonium, poison pill. And turns out his own people are saying, well, we're going to have to cut a lot, but we're not cutting your fire department, man. It's not going to take longer for police to show up to your house. That's outrageous. It's asinine. It's absurd. And last thing I'll say is Nashville still has nearly twice as many employees per 1,000 residents as more populous cities like Louisville, Indianapolis, and Jacksonville. Twice as many employees. So if those cities can figure it out and they have more population than we do, we can figure it out in Nashville. Let's get to this other story here, though. Still local a little bit. I don't have a headline for this, unfortunately, Shine. It came through one of our local awesome groups here. It's a group called the Sentinels in Nashville. They're an affiliate of the Heritage Foundation. They send out this email blast every single morning, and I found this one super interesting, primarily because we brought up yesterday where I pitched this theory that I'm starting to think that Democrats are not relying upon the mail-in vote as much as they initially had said they would be. And here's the headline right here. U.S. Representative Jim Cooper. Yes, there is a familial relation between Mayor Cooper and Jim Cooper. I believe they're brothers, right? Someone tell me if I'm wrong about that.
Normally you would say no relation, but that is not the case.
Not the case right now, no. So yes, the same Mayor Cooper we just discussed, his brother is actually a representative for the U.S. government. He's a federal House rep His is his statement. Here's the headline. U.S. Rep Jim Cooper announces major early voting initiative. Now, I've highlighted this section in yellow in the show notes. Quick plug. If you want to know what we mean when we say show notes, there's an Evernote link in the description of every single video, every single morning, wherever you're watching this on. Follow along if you want to. It's good little pieces that Shannon and I put together. This is what his statement says. In what a spokesman for the U.S. Representative Jim Cooper, Democrat from Nashville, says, may be the first of its kind nationally. Cooper is urging local voters to, and I put this part in red, head to the polls early with 14 days of themed voting events featuring community groups and celebrities. I'll say that one more time in case you didn't pick up on it because I made it pretty overt.
Thursday is Wakanda Day.
It's something like that, yeah. Cooper's urging local voters to head to the polls early with 14 days of themed voting events featuring community groups and celebrities. Now, I don't pretend to know who these celebrities are.
No, Old Crow Medicine Show. That's a good band.
Is it really?
Yeah, Old Crow. They sang, they wrote Wagon Wheel. You know Wagon Wheel, right? Tell me you know about Wagon Wheel.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, man. No, I don't.
Nah, dude. How do you live in Nashville and not know about Wagon Wheel? That's like the song.
I just sold myself out there. I don't know.
All right. Well, anyway, Old Crow Medicine Show is a real band. I don't know about these other people. But anyway, go on. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry.
No. It's good. Honestly, part of the reason why I put this up here because I figured if anybody knew
me,
some of these
mama,
people
like
were...
a wagon wheel. Rock me, mama, any way you feel. Hey. Yeah, they wrote that. Well, actually, Bob Dylan wrote 2/3 of it. They bought it from him, finished it, and then that guy from Hootie and the Blowfish covered it and made it really big. But Old Crow made it like 10 years ago.
Well, dang, there you go. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I included this list of names. That's actually at the bottom of the thing that I found it from. I put it at the top because I kind of figured if anybody's going to know any of these artists, you're obviously got to be Shine or maybe someone in the comment section. I don't know. I didn't know any of them, but here's the list of celebrities. You can read it for yourself. Jason Isbell, T-Bone Burnett, Ruby. It doesn't matter. I don't know any of these people is the point that I'm making. The point of me bringing up this topic, though, this morning is that Cooper is urging people to show up early to the polls. And again, one more time, this is not like definitive proof of my theory that Democrats are pulling back or trying to at least roll back or maybe walking back some of the push for mail-in ballots. It's not definitive proof, but it's just a small example of how you might start rolling something like that out. Right away, we're less than 30 days away from the election, early voting. We're already doing this stuff. We need people to show up. We're really starting to think these people may not understand how to do the mail-in process. And I know that sounds like an outrageous statement. How hard could it be, really? Why? I get that, but I've made fairly dumb mistakes in my life. Very recently, I've made very dumb mistakes in my life. And some of those could be as dumb as, I don't know, man, forgetting to check a box. Just absent-mindedness, not signing your name. I don't know what the postage might be or may not need to be. It varies by state to state, I assume. We ran over some of these yesterday, and there's a lot of reasons why someone's vote could be legitimately, legally excluded from even counting. So I'm thinking you're going to see a lot more of this rolling out of Democrats pushing for people to show up in early voting. The story continues by saying Cooper has been a long proponent of voting rights and vote early Tennessee in the latest effort to encourage Nashvillians to, quote, to vote early and reduce exposure to COVID-19 on Election Day. More than 200 businesses and affinity groups have been educating their constituents and followers about the importance of early voting, absentee voting rules, and casting their ballots in November. Now, here's a quote that changes this story a little bit. This is one of the reasons why I brought it up this morning, because this is kind of a story inside of a story. We're doing a bit of inception voting thing here this morning, all right?
Feel the whoosh.
Yeah, it's like, do. All I think about is that South Park episode every time I hear that. Oh, it's so convoluted and crazy. It has to be good. Anyways, here's the quote. This is coming writer and producer and director of participating in Vote Early Tennessee. She says, I think Tennessee is a particularly egregious case of suppressing the vote. I just feel like trying to make it so that it's harder to vote is anti-democratic and really kind of shameful piece of our history here. She goes on to say, we should be doing everything in our power to counteract that and encourage people to know where they're going to vote and to make sure they have a plan for voting. Tennessee currently does rank 49th in the country in voter turnout numbers, according to Think Tennessee. It's a nonpartisan think tank that focuses on civic engagement. The only state that's worse than us in Arkansas. So there's two other sub-stories within this one right now before we get to the national stories. The first sub-story is, I kind of want to know what y'all make of this idea that Tennessee is one of the most egregious states for suppressing the vote, right? And then I also want to know what y'all think of, like, all right, so let me just think this, though. I'll say this much. The reason why Tennessee ranks 49th in the country for voter turnout is not because of Tennessee's alleged egregious violations of voter suppression or not. That is not the reason.
Yeah, Grant, isn't that some kind of one of those Jedi mind tricks to say, hey, we are 49th in voter turnout, therefore it's voter suppression?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like that's not evidence, right? Like there's no, like that's one of those it's like they're close together so you can associate them, but it's not necessarily it's a correlated thing, not a causation thing. I mean, I think it's because a lot of Tennesseans are lazy, to be honest. I mean, I don't think
I was just going to say, our problem is apathy. That's what our problem is.
I mean, if you have a month where you don't even have to go to your precinct, you can go to, at least in Knox County, there's like 7 locations, and you can go to any of them, and there's never a line because it's not the day of voting. I mean, how is that voter suppression? You're giving people a month as opposed to a day. I don't know. It's just weird. Well, people say that all the time, and I'm like, where is the evidence that Tennessee suppresses anyone from voting? I've never had a problem. It only takes 5 minutes, even on election day.
Right. Part of the reason why I brought the story up also is just to hopefully set one of the things we like to do in Real News here is to set a theme, sort of like an overarching or underlying theme that rolls throughout the show, whether people know it or not that it's happening. That's kind of what we like to do. We'd like to drive a solid point home throughout the entire show. And one of those I hope today is that, look, it's okay to hold 2 thoughts at once. All right. You can believe 2 things at the same time. It's not a crazy thing to think of, as long as we're not having some type of cognitive dissonance going on, or those 2 things are not actually mutually exclusive. It is okay. It is okay to say that Tennessee could do more to allow more people to vote, and at the same time say that has nothing to do with the reason why we have low voter turnout. It just doesn't. Frankly speaking, Tennesseans in the aggregate, just don't really care. Now, here's what's weird about Tennessee.
Yeah, I would theorize that even if there were no restrictions on voting, it would only improve the voter turnout by like 2 or 3%.
Oh, yes. Oh, no, I completely agree.
At best.
I completely agree.
It probably more likely 0.5%.
Yeah. And this is what I'm saying is, here's the interesting thing about Tennessee is virtually none of our citizens care enough to go out and vote. And I say that because it's definitive proof right now. There's only one state in the nation that's worse than us. But those that do care are more involved. Sean and I have done politics in a lot of states, right? I mean, Kentucky, Virginia, Georgia. He did politics in Tennessee. We've been all over, right? Florida. We've done politics in a lot of states here. And I can tell you, the Tennesseans that do care more about this state than most any other citizen of any other state that I've ever done politics in. There's just not a lot of them. There's just not a lot of them. That's one of the reasons why I brought this up, is to make an appeal yet again of, can we start caring a little bit more? We could care much less about national politics if we start to care a little bit more about local politics. And I promise you that's how the equation goes. It is inevitable that will be the outcome. If you start getting involved in local stuff, not only will you find more fulfillment, you'll see that the laws actually change and make a legitimate difference in your daily life, as opposed to you voting for someone and stuff really not looking that much different at the end of the day, and you get a little bit jaded. You feel disenfranchised. It doesn't happen at the local level. Last thing I'll say is, look, when she says that Tennessee is a particularly egregious case of voter suppression, I will say Shine and I, we spent a lot of time last session trying to work on some voting rights stuff and didn't get a lot of headway. That statement up there that there's an egregious case, that's not what's happening. It's not an egregious case of suppressing the vote. It's just that there's a lot of laws in the books right now that make it fairly difficult for some people to vote, and people up there just are hard to change, man. They're just hard to change. That's all I'm saying.
But like I said, it's stuff that's only affecting like 2 or 3% of the population at most.
That is true.
Or maybe that's even probably a little liberal. It's probably more like 1.5%. If you're talking about people who've have a criminal record and haven't gotten the right to vote back, that's more like what we were working on, I would say. But it's not terribly difficult in the state of Tennessee if you've never committed a crime and you actually have a driver's license and you're a resident to vote. And that's the key, right? Like if you're a quote, like a reasonable person by the legal definition, like you have a driver's license, you have a job, You go to work. You live somewhere, you know? Like, what a reasonable person. It's not hard, man. It's like a 2-hour trip to the DMV at most. At most. And then you filling out something with your county election commission and waiting, or going in person to your county election commission.
Right.
I mean, it's a day.
It's
every county.
It's a day.
It's a day.
It's an inconvenient day. Yeah.
Well, but I mean, like, dude, it's a day, and that's your price for not having a monarchy or a dictatorship. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't compare it to, like, it's a day versus, like, I get to eat a really good sandwich. You know, so it shouldn't take all day to eat a really good sandwich, even though sometimes it does.
It's a day compared to not having monarchy.
It's a day. It's your price for not having monarchy, dictatorship, or theocracy. So, like, get off your lazy butt and learn how to vote, you know?
Get off your lazy butt, yes.
Because the alternative is despotism, you know, dystopian world, you know.
Now, Eric is bringing up an arguably very good point in Facebook here, one that has been chapping me for quite some time, and I don't even really consider myself a big L libertarian. Here's what Eric says in Facebook. He says, it's only anti-democratic for the majority if the minority is okay with it and gets their way, just saying. He says, if you're libertarian, this is certainly true. Very suppressed. All right. And he goes on to say, but let's see here. Oh, yeah, that's what the point Eric is making is the rules to have ballot access in this state it's not going to happen, really. I'll put it. I don't know the proper PC way to say this. Republicans and Democrats have kind of come together on both together and said, we don't really want libertarians on the ballot here. Now, granted, I think, what do you need? 35,000 signatures. And I guess someone could say, well, Mr. Henry, didn't you guys just gather 26,000 signatures? Yeah, but that was with a major corporation backing us. That was with 40 or 50 different volunteers. That was with Shine working part-time on it all the way out in Knoxville as well. It was a statewide effort to gather that stuff over a couple-month period of time. So whether or not the couple hundred,
and there was a lot of people, like, more than registered libertarians in the state of Tennessee. There were people who were hot on that issue.
Yes,
so, like,
exactly.
I mean, Grant, now I don't remember if you know off the top of your head, but how many, like, people are in the state Libertarian Party? Like, less than 500?
Yeah, it's less than, I think last time I checked, there was 3-something, 4-something.
And
but it's
this
less
is
than
not
500.
to disparage them or whatever, but that's why it would be difficult.
Right.
I mean, when it really comes down to it, people make power, right? People make power. I mean, everything comes from people, and that's not enough people.
No, it's not.
To fight it's not other people with power.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Think what they're going to do.
Bless their hearts. That's what all I can say. Bless their hearts.
Well, they have to get their messaging out there. They have to get the messaging out there of why it would be advantageous to allow another third party on the ballot as opposed to independent or something else like that. They would have to convince both Republicans and Democrats, or at least just enough Republicans.
They wouldn't have to convince them. They, like, at least the power people, they would have to, like, convince regular people and, like, grow the party by 10 times. Like, they'd need 5,000 members or something.
I know, man. I know. And that's so the point is that at the state level, they've made it nearly impossible to make sure that libertarians get on the ballot. And what I mean by that is, I'm sure most people know, but if you go vote, you're not going to see an L anywhere on there. You're not going to see libertarian representation. You might at best see independent or someone running as a Republican that's actually libertarian. That's more likely what happens. There's a few cases we can point to in this state already where that usually does happen. Someone that's actually probably would rather be a qualified libertarian, but they're not going to win like that. So when Eric comes out here and says, like, you want to talk voter suppression, I don't know, man. There's at least a couple hundred libertarians and probably a few crossover Republicans that would prefer to vote for an actual qualified libertarian candidate, but they just can't do it because the signature requirement is so high or something else. Now, I will say this much. I will say this. If I'm being totally fair about that cause, if the 500 less or so, they say 500 libertarians in the state really wanted to, I do believe if that was their sole focus for a select period of time, they could get it done. They could get it done.
I agree, because there's moral high ground there. Yeah. But I do want to say this too. Like, it's not actually voter suppression because all libertarians can vote. Just because they can't get candidates on the ballot, that's not voter suppression actually. Right, that's a different thing, and I don't want to call it voter suppression because all people can vote for the same reasons that we just said. But Eric just said if they would just give us a little power, we'd have more power, basically is what Eric's comment was. If they just let us on the ballot, then more people would join. That's your burden. And people in power don't give power. You have to earn it, so to speak, is the right word. It's not the right word, but you get what I'm saying. People just don't people don't just give power away. And here's the deal. You said, granted, it'll never happen or whatever, but, you know, the Republican Party is not as old as the state of Tennessee. It's younger. Democrat Party in its current iteration is younger, even though the Democratic Party has been around since the revolution, you know, right after the, Thomas Jefferson, right? But it's different now, obviously. It's gone through several iterations. So one day your time may come, or there may be another party. I mean, I think it's entirely possible the Democrats get shellacked this year, that it's very possible they could fragment and there not be a Democrat Party in the way that we know it today. And I think there are actually several libertarians across the country hoping and waiting and actually maybe even planning on that to happen and absorbing some of the libertarian-minded people that are moderate Democrats. But anyway, what I'm saying is there's hope and there's time because we don't live in a monarchy, a theocracy, or some priest-class dictatorship. You know, so it is possible. So don't feel completely beaten. No. And we admit this is a fun little rabbit trail we went down.
It is. I mean, and I've said this before, but I do genuinely believe at a fundamental level, I don't care what you run as. Put a Batman symbol in front of your name. I don't care.
Oh, Batman Party. Dude, Batman Party would be awesome, man.
Everybody in the party has to talk like this, though. I'm running for Canada. They all have to do the Batman
Lower
voice.
Texas.
Yes. Do you want to remove government bureaucracy? Everybody in the Batman Party has to introduce themselves that way. But genuinely, I don't care what you run as.
Utility belts. We all get utility belts, dude.
That's promise number one, right? Everybody gets batarangs and utility belts. But I genuinely, I don't care what you run with in front of your name. I don't see why anyone else should care what you run with. So when Eric says, he just said a second ago here, in Texas, the R's and D's, Republicans and Democrats tried to sue to get the Libertarians off the ballot, but they still lost. I think the point Eric is making is whether we call it voter suppression or what type of suppression we call it, some version of an orchestrated suppression is happening. And because Republicans control the state, they don't want them on there because it's likely that they're going to pull from Republican votes. That's usually what happens. So they don't want to legitimize the party any more than they have to. But again, that's the burden on Republicans to make themselves a legitimate party, man. And I'll tell them one more time, use your friends, libertarians. Use your friends, use your Republican friends. Work to become a legitimate party, man. I'll help you. I'll help you. I'm tired of seeing the libertarians as a fun philosophy club. I want to see them do something much, much more than that. You know what I mean?
Matt Burns in Facebook says, naturally, I'll start the Joker party. Cue the music.
That's awesome. Oh, man. All right, let's go on to this next story here. It's the bottom of the hour. I'm sure it's what everybody's been waiting to get to. RealNewsRadio.live. Let's reset for a second as we enter into this next story, because this next story could go any direction here. But RealNewsRadio.live.
This next story is stupid, and I hate it.
That's the central landing page for all Real News related things. You find a little bit of swag. You can find links to all of our social media accounts. If you're not following us on those social media accounts, follow those things, man. Do it. I'm telling you, we have at least a few examples already of people that we've picked up organically through this stuff out here. I think Jonathan here in Nashville is a great example. I think Jessica over in Pennsylvania is a great example. We've had examples of cool, awesome organic pickups in this digital sort of family that we've created. And now we're all living life together and progressing and growing with each other through comment sections. It's a beautiful thing. So like, share, follow, do all that stuff. Spread the love. RealNewsRadio.live. Here's the national story I'm sure you've all heard. Here's the headline from NBC News. 13 men charged in alleged plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Now, let me just get through some of these stats, and then we'll get into the commentary. While I'm getting through, stats was a weird word there. Facts is what I meant to say. While I'm getting through some of this stuff, let me know in the comment section how you feel about this, especially if you're already caught up. Let me just quickly break down where we were at yesterday. Yesterday or the day before, we covered this case where Governor Whitmer, this same governor, lost a major state Supreme Court case, indicating that the law she had been relying upon to issue executive orders and executive mandates, some law that was passed in 1945, the Michigan State Supreme Court said, sorry, you can't do it. You overreached, you overstepped your power. Some of this power has to go back to the state government. In Michigan, the state government is controlled by Republicans, and the governor is Democrat would be an understatement, an absolute understatement. The point of me saying that, though, is that Governor Whitmer is and already was losing in court. That will become extremely important here in a second. Here's the story that happened that broke yesterday. More than a dozen men were arrested on federal and state charges in connection with an alleged foiled plot to kidnap Michigan's Democrats governor, Gretchen Whitmer, authorities said Thursday. 6 were apprehended and charged with federal crimes, while 7 were picked up on state charges. All of the members of 2 militia groups, quote, who were preparing to kidnap and possibly kill me. This is a statement from Whitmer herself. Whitmer said this in an address that all these men were part of 2 militia groups who were preparing to kidnap and possibly kill me. Let's see. It went on to say the arrest grew out of an FBI-led inquiry that began in March and focused on militia groups discussing the, quote, violent overthrow of certain government and law enforcement officials. The violent overthrow of certain government and law enforcement officials. Each of the federally charged men faces up to life in prison if convicted on all charges. Here's a little bit more. The 6 suspects facing federal charges in the alleged kidnapping plot used encrypted messaging to communicate about the plot, conducted coordinated surveillance on the governor's vacation home, and detonated an improvised explosive device wrapped in shrapnel. There's such a lack of information there. When did they detonate this device? Were they prepping for something? Was this like a conspiracy plot that they got them up on? What were they planning for? What were these types of encrypted messages were they using? Were they actually encrypting through some type of algorithm? Was it just changing of words? We got a little bit more update on that.
Did they use ExpressVPN?
Well, honestly, I don't know what any of this means without some better type of context. Now, according to U.S. Attorney Andrew Burge, he's the Western District of Michigan, they said they use terms like cake or cupcakes for the B word. They go, I don't want to say some of these words. I don't know what Facebook's watching or whatever. They used a chemistry set for components of an IED, and baker for manufactured B words that go. Based on court documents, the FBI was well aware of the activities of the 6 men charged, and there does not seem to have been an imminent threat posed to Whitmer. The FBI was well aware of the activities that the 6 men have been charged, and there does not seem to have been an imminent threat posed to Whitmer. Now, give me 2 more minutes here, and we'll get into some of the weird controversy that's laid itself out over the last couple of days. The documents identify the defendants as you can find their names here. I don't care about reading these names. And part of the policy on Real News here is that we just don't like to name losers. I'm just not naming the losers. Y'all can read for them yourself. I only put them in the show notes
because losers.
because one name in particular is important for some of the other stuff we linked. That's the only reason why I included them in the show notes, is just to lend validity to these Twitter links that we're about to get to. Now, the 7 are linked to the Wolverine Watchmen Militia. It's an awful name, but whatever.
It's like that movie. It's like that movie, Red Dawn.
Is that what they called themselves? Really, the Wolverines?
In Red Dawn, the people who fought back against the Russian invasion were the Wolverines. But I bet it's not to do with that. I bet it has to do with
Michigan.
The Michigan mascot. They're probably not that cool, you know. Yeah. I'm just going to go ahead and say they're probably not that cool, and it was an accident.
The Wolverine Watchman militia sought to, quote, instigate a civil war and had engaged in planning and training for operation to attack the Capitol building of Michigan and to kidnap government officials, including the governor of Michigan. This is coming from the Michigan Attorney General herself. Now, this is where this next sentence is basically where I don't know, nearly 100% of the Twitter conversation has been taking place, and most of the Facebook posts that I've seen has been taking place is asserting blame. This is where it's all coming down to, and this is what where all this stuff is coming from. Here's the quote. A senior federal law enforcement official said authorities believe the Wolverine Watchman ideology differs from a conventional militia group. The official said the group believes in the Boogaloo movement, a term referring to an impeding civil war. Now, the federal investigation involved at least one member of a militia group who was involved in a Second Amendment rally at the Michigan State House in June. And that member allegedly told FBI that the group was considering killing police officers and agreed to become an informant. Now, let me pause here. We'll roll back a little bit. We'll set to go into some of these Twitter videos, which honestly, Sean, sorry to say, I have not listened to any of these, so I really don't know what to expect. We'll get to that in a second. But I want to pause and focus on 2 things. First, what do y'all make of this story? Where you come from? What are your just initial guttural reactions, especially if you're just hearing this for the first time? Secondly, where are y'all coming down to this whole asserting blame thing? Whether it's right, left, whether it's Boogaloo, whether it's some type of ANCAP or ANCOM, anarcho-capitalist, which some might say is the extreme far-right version of the political spectrum, anarcho-communist, which some might say is the extreme far-left version. I don't necessarily care. My personal opinion on this, and then I want to get to the comments, is I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters how you assert blame. The simple fact of the matter is this type of ideology and acting on kidnapping the governor of the United States to roll out the purpose they say that we'll get to eventually. They say they wanted to have their own trials for some type of constitutional violations. If that is your plan, that is your end goal, that is utter lunacy. It's unadulterated. Pat, I don't know the word for it. It's just outrageous. And I don't care if it's left or right outrageous. It doesn't matter to me.
Feels like LARPing a little bit.
Yeah, man. It's fringe extreme. And I don't think we need... There's nobody out there that should feel the compulsion to defend this in any particular way. I've been seeing so many people go back and forth and saying, well, this is a version of the left movement or this is a version of the right movement. Dude, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And some people are trying to say that we should be more afraid of those on the right and less afraid of those on the left. Dude, it's not like Boogaloo is written in the middle of the streets in downtown New York City right now. As far as a public perception is concerned of something that could be, I don't know, instituting some type of or enacting some type of violence, this ain't it, man. This is fringe, utter lunacy. And just call it for that. Just call it for that and say, I don't even have to get anywhere near supporting this. I can clearly label this as terrorist type actions. Kidnapping a government official, holding your own version of trial, armed. They said they were going to blow up stuff so they could distract police officers. Some of these clips we're about to play, this person goes on to say that they want to kill police officers. This stuff is nutty. It is absolutely insane that this stuff is. All right? And it's certainly not Republican. I don't even know if it has anything to do with the left either. I don't know what this is. Because I can't make what this is, I don't feel the need to defend this either. So I don't think whether it's a right motivation or left motivation, I don't think that matters. I think the simple fact of the matter is that we can come to a consensus both on the right and left and say, this is just wrong. It's patently, definitively, unequivocally wrong.
It's bad,
at the end of the day.
I mean, it's bad.
It's
okay. I mean, it's bad.
Arresting the governor is bad, okay?
It's bad. You can't arrest the governor. You can't do that. It's bad.
Let me just hit the Facebook comments and I'll let Shine give his attempt. I mean, not his attempt, but his thoughts on this if he wants to as well. Eric says, that's interesting because I've seen people, some calling, well, where to go? He said, that's interesting. Yep, there it is. That's interesting. I've seen some people calling them lefties because they're anarchists. You're exactly right. I mean, again, we'll play this clip in a second where the guy is speaking in his bedroom, this big anarchist flag behind him. Now, whether that's ANCAP or ANCOM, I don't know, man. Maybe
dude, only the lefty anarchists use the A circle symbol. Valid. I mean, let's be real. Let's be real. I've never seen any right wing militia, whatever, even Boogaloo people. They don't use the A with the circle.
No,
that is not their thing.
Right?
It's not. It's branded, bro. It's 2020, maybe in 2010 or something.
Well, that's a valid point, Sean.
Closer to the Occupy Wall Street. It was really kind of a swing symbol. It could go either way. But in 2020, the A with the circle around it is not even associated with a particular political direction. It's with a certain political group called Antifa. That's it. They're the only ones who use that.
Jonathan said on Facebook, Whitmore's camp called them Republicans, which they did. I mean, that's another story that I included again because I didn't want to get too partisan with the situation because I don't think we need to. I don't think it matters. But Jonathan's correct. He says Whitmore's camp called them Republicans. It wasn't just Whitmore's camp. The entirety of the media picked up on that narrative. That using the hard R word, big R Republican, at all even remotely associating with whatever this nonsense plot was, is, again, I say this term all the time, it's not just disingenuous, it's purposely misleading and therefore very, very caustic. Eric went on to say that whenever the boog gets mentioned, the Boogaloo stuff gets mentioned, I start questioning the validity of the story. Duncan Lemp got killed over his affiliation with it, in my opinion. I don't know, though. Duncan Lemp's the guy that around the exact same time that Breonna Taylor was killed in a no-knock warrant. This guy, Duncan Lemp, was also killed in a no-knock warrant. I want to say in the Northeast somewhere, but don't quote me on that. That's who he's talking about. But Eric goes on to say, if they want a real trial, then I don't think a military showdown is going to turn out the way that they think it is. Exactly. And then I think Kelly hits it on the head, saying, "Basement dwelling LARPers." That's what, Kelly's emoji game, and I'm telling you, it's top notch. There's nobody better in the emoji game world. She puts one of these faces that's just like messed up like this, and then her brain, it's just like messed up brains. That's right. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. And Sean, let me kick it to you for any more commentary, man. I don't know, man. Where do you go with this?
Yeah, I mean, I want to just echo what you said, and just say these people are bad. These people are bad. They're bad. There's no redeeming qualities of anybody who wants to violently overthrow their government right now. I don't want to say generally violently over. I mean, I guess it has its place in history and things like that, but it's not good for anybody right now. Right. It's not good for anybody. It's bad for our system. I mean, if they were people who leaned right or didn't like Whitmer for the reasons I don't like Whitmer, she's losing in court.
Exactly.
Like she's losing.
Exactly.
Like all you did was just give her some room, give her some space, give her some moral high ground, you dummies. But I don't think that they dislike Whitmer for the same reasons that I dislike Whitmer.
No, I hear you.
But that maybe just might be my biases or whatever. But like the fact that they were planning on going after law enforcement and they have Antifa symbols in their bedrooms makes them sound like other kinds of groups. Yeah. And I mean, they were going to go after law enforcement. That was stated, So what's the group that uses the A symbol with the circle around it and goes after law enforcement and government buildings and government officials? What group has been doing that for 6 months? What group has repeatedly resorted to violence, chaos, and I would even dare say terrorism? I mean, and that's what I don't want to make this huge case about it. We're going to show the videos and things like that. But that's what I wanted to say. Who has been doing that? Who has shown a propensity towards that? Who has shown where the Overton window in their particular space has moved into that as a normal way of political expression? What groups have been doing that for 150 days? And I think that answers your question. I don't know. In my opinion, that's how you should be viewing this story, because we don't have all the documents. What we have is Whitmer's account. Yeah. We don't have the indictments, right? Like we don't have a statement from the Michigan FBI office or whatever. So we are getting a weird bias viewpoint, and we'll get a lot more over the next few days. And I bet the picture will be a little bit different than it was painted yesterday afternoon for the American people, the more we know.
And if you want to, Sean, you can actually show them in the show notes. I don't. If you just want to prove the point, you have to play the audio. But there's any three of those Twitter links that are inside that story as well. It's the first thing in the national story section. You can just show that in the background if you want to, because it's the same thing. You can just show the Twitter threads and the first Twitter link there if you want to. It's this same guy that was arrested. You can see the background of what I presume to be his bedroom. You can see the anarchist flag back there, and then some flag that I don't know what is. It's a letter P with tri-stars. Looks like it's some type of American flag imagery. I don't pretend to know what that flag is. Maybe some of this watching this program tell me better on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or wherever else.
Actually, from here, kind of looks like the atomic symbol.
Is that right?
I mean, I don't know. And then the stripes on it are real weird. Yeah, if anybody knows what that is, I bet it's a local group flag, bro, that someone had made.
But you can see this person who, I don't know who Robbie Starbuck is. He's got the verified check, so you know he's a good deal. but he tries to break down what these videos are about, and you can see that this video of this one guy, one of the ringleaders, the group of men, saying that where it planned to kidnap, yada, yada, saying an anarchist flag. He has YouTube videos where he's trashing police, saying he's not a Republican, he's an anarchist. And again, this term of anarchist, I'm telling you, man, like a bunch of our friends are ANCAPs, and this is not them. Let me express this one more time. A bunch of the friends we have that watch this program, this is not what it is. They're having a terrible time dealing with this right now, because this is now what's being painted across the nation as like anarchist. Sorry, not ANCAP. It's anarchist is the word that's being used all over the place, man.
If you were one of these Antifa people and you lived in Michigan and not California or Portland, Would you go around calling yourself Antifa? Or would you say if you say I'm an anarchist, would you try to blend in with Republicans? That's in order to, what do you call it? Soften people up to hating them. You know what I'm saying? And thinking they're dangerous. If you lived in Michigan, what would your diversity of tactics look like?
Yeah.
Because you don't live in D.C., you don't live in Portland, you don't live in New York, you don't live in Atlanta, you live in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of your diversity of tactics being gather a bunch of hippies and pretty girls to dance around while you dress up in black outfits and try to beat police, and then people can say it was mostly peaceful, what would your diversity of tactics look like in Michigan? And I bet in Michigan, diversity of tactics looks like make yourself look like a right-wing, claim to be a right-wing militia group.
I hear you. Okay.
Right? And then that will give you, because their whole thing is about diversity of tactics, which is about giving certain people cover while other people do bad things. That's the way they do it in all those major leftist cities, where they get a bunch of useful idiots like pretty girls, blown out hippie dudes. They get them to dance in the street for like 3 or 4 hours, and then a bunch of people in black outfits show up with umbrellas and batons and beat the crap out of people and burn down buildings. So I'm just saying, I'm being a little bit conspiratorial or whatever, but it's because we don't have enough facts, so we can have a little bit of fun and speculate, and I don't think anyone's getting hurt by my speculation, because I don't live in Michigan mostly. But anyway.
Eric just said on Facebook too, both sides have their Looney Tunes and we should be equally suspicious of them all. I 100% agree with that as well. He says 100% Looney Tunes, both fringe sides have done stuff like this. Look at Weather Underground. That's another good point I just want to focus on here quickly before we get to the next final story. He's right. And stuff has been way worse than this in the past. I mean, substantially worse. We went over the story before that the Weather Underground and FALN and a few other organizations between a 4-year period, they detonated, was it over 1,000, 1,500 bombs? Over a 4-year period, there was 1,500 plus bombs detonated at major sites in the United States. It was in like the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. Don't quote me on that, but you can look this stuff up. Whenever Weather Underground was doing what it was doing, that stuff was going on. Now, to date, I've not heard anything of that outrageous yet happening. Yes, cities are burning down, buildings are burning down. There's a lot of violence going on. I haven't heard of 1,500 bombs exploding in this country, though, either, have I? No. Nevertheless, probably shouldn't have said those words. I'm just realizing. Nevertheless, we'll go on. Jonathan said on Facebook a second ago, Whitmer pisses me off in a very facilitated way. Says that he has sympathy for her over the plotters right up until the point that she said they were right wing. I hear what you're saying. Okay. What Jonathan's basically saying is like, I have sympathy for the fact that this is an outrageous thing that happened to her. It should never have been put on her or her administration or anybody in her position. But once she starts claiming that it's not what it is, it's all of a sudden looking like she's spinning up a narrative to gain some type of political capital out of it. Like, you never waste a good controversy, do you? And that's one of the golden rules.
She should have just gone moral high ground. It would have been so much better for her to just say, you know what, I'm safe, my family's safe, and I want to thank the police and the FBI, and I just want you to know that your governor's safe, your government is safe, and that these people didn't even have a chance. They had been talking about it for like a week. The FBI had infiltrated their group. Like, these kinds of things, this is the way it's supposed to go down. I was never really in any danger. Thank you, police. And it just would have been like nothing but positive for her. It would have blunted a lot of the actual political stuff. But because she put dividing lines, she disqualified certain people from feeling sorry for her.
I hear you.
Less people will.
Well, and again, man, I'll end this entire commentary as we switch into this next article that it's not even an article, it's a Twitter thing on rant. I mean, on Yelp solving racism. As we shift into that, the last thing I'll say here is exactly what Shine brought up before. This entire thing, I mean, however you look at this, right, left, doesn't matter to me. It's just fringe lunacy is my basic take on this. I don't think anybody should feel compelled to defend this. And I think we all on the left and right can have consensus in the idea that this is just trash, something that we don't need in society, especially not right now. We should all equally and openly condemn anything even resembling this. With that being said, if you don't want to take my word for it, take their own words for it. It's exactly what Shine said before. So what was the plot? To kidnap a governor to hold a trial? Is that what they were? To hold a trial? Didn't she just lose in court? You just lost in a trial. What are we doing here? I mean, if somebody tried to get me come in front of that group, I'd say, wait, we're going to go hold a trial. She just lost. at a trial. What are we doing? So you're telling me
which is the main reason why I think they're probably left wing, because all they did was like help her.
No, I know, dude. It's like we don't trust that trial.
And they were stupid enough to be willing to go to jail for the rest of their lives to help her, which also makes me think they're left wing.
Exactly, man. Aaron said in Facebook, free Schaefer Cox. Oh, goodness, that's a totally different thing. We don't have time to get into that right now. Let me just direct everyone that's watching this right now. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, whatever, go to Facebook. Check out what Aaron just posted on Facebook. We've spoken to Schaefer Cox before 2 times on Real News way back in the day. We've covered that story multiple times as well. I can try and find something back in the day, but she says conspiracy charges are always fake, trumped-up charges used to free political prisoners in the USA. Check out Schaefer Cox story. Very, very interesting one. So, last story here in the final 10 minutes of the show. Yelp. Let's give them a collective round of applause, y'all. Yelp is solving racism, one restaurant at a time. Let me standing ovation on that one. Yelp, buddy, you've done it. You did it. Let me just direct Shine's attention here in the national show notes section here, right where it says Yelp solves racism. That first Twitter link. Click on that, and we'll take them down step by step to show y'all what Yelp is doing to solve racism. Let me read this for you word for word. It's coming up from Yelp yesterday. Today, we're announcing a new customer alert to stand against racism. Good on you. In the last few months, we've seen that there's a clear need to warn consumers about businesses associated with egregious racially charged actions to help people make more informed spending decisions. They go on to say communities have always turned to Yelp. Have they? Or whatever. Communities have always turned to Yelp.
Help me.
I'm sorry.
Help me.
Help, Yelp. Yelp, help. Communities have always turned to Yelp in reaction to current events, and our user operation team already places alerts on business pages where we notice an unusual uptick in reviews that are based on what someone may have seen in the news rather than on firsthand experience. And here it is, the B word drops. Now, when a business gains attention for reports of racist conduct, Yelp will place a new business accused of racist behavior alert on their Yelp page to inform users, along with a link to news articles where they can learn more. That's it.
How can they do that without being sued?
That's how you solve it.
How could they do that without being sued? Like, that's defamation if I've ever heard it ever. Like, institutionalized. It's rot. All right, so let's take this from both perspectives real quick. No, let's not even take it from both perspectives. I don't know what the other perspective could be on this possibly. I suppose if you want to get the idea about some why relegate it just to racism? Why not just include the entirety of all of it? Why can't it be smelly smells?
Xenophobia.
Why can't there be a smelly smells alert? Don't go there. It smells. Don't do that.
Well, and let me just bring this up, Shine. So the Twitter thing that we just went through, under that same show notes section where it says Yelp solves racism, go find that YouTube clip real quick. It says Karen is being racist to Indonesian staffs. As Shine's pulling that YouTube clip up, let me just pause for a second here. I want to try and be as objective as possible as I can about this. Now just understand, part of my reasoning behind this is because Yelp is a terrible company. They are a terrible mafioso-like company. And I'm not exaggerating. They've been sued multiple times. There have been over 2,000 complaints against them filed with the FTC since 2014. This is not me making up. I have stats to back this up in just a second. They are a bad company. They are arguably the worst company to try and roll out an initiative like this. That is part of what's tinging my lens here. So let's ask this for a second. What might be the problem with something like this? Wouldn't this be a good initiative that Yelp is pushing forward? Make communities aware of people that might be harboring racism or I don't know, somehow hiding that, or I don't know, man. I don't know. If you have that YouTube clip pulled up, Shine, I think what some people might be afraid of here are Karens walking in a store and, well, doing what Karens do. Karens have a tendency to call stuff out that may not be there. Karens have a tendency to label that something is racist when it may not be racist. Karens have a tendency to see things that they've developed a little fabricated reality, and the boogeyman just isn't there, Karen. It's just not there.
Hey, I got the video ready. Let's do it.
Show Karen right now.
I have a question. Is this black owned?
No.
Okay. Interesting. Excuse me.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Doing good, doing good. Olivia?
Yeah, taro slush.
Got you. It's coming up right now.
Okay. I have a question. Are you guys black owned?
We're Indonesian.
Okay, do you think
Indonesian.
using this, you guys are not using black culture to gain attention
Not
and
at
gain
all.
custody? You don't think this is black culture?
I think
Is this
I think
Asian?
everyone
Is this Asian culture?
The commie house is definitely an Asian culture. That's what
No, but it's the trap house though. Is that Asian
not a
culture?
trap house.
Yes, it is.
That's the I
trap
can show
tea.
you. I can show you where it's. I can show you where it's inspired from.
Trap tea, the boba plug. You're using black culture to gain customers. This establishment is not black owned, but you're stealing black culture. Is this not black culture? Trap tea, the boba plug? No, you're thieves. Asian people stealing black culture once again. It's okay, you'll be exposed though. You're not black owned. You're stealing black culture.
Thank you
You're
for
stealing
coming.
black culture.
Thank you for coming.
No, I came here because I thought it was black owned. That's why I came here. I told my friends I'm supporting a black business. This is not black owned. This is not black owned. Asians stealing black culture. Once again, you're a coon. Don't talk.
I'm a coon.
But
yet you already
because I didn't know it was black owned.
You already spent money on them.
I already did. But I.
So, Yelp
Grant,
now
I'm
comes
mad
out
that
with-
you subjected me to that. Like, that
Sorry,
was
man.
insane, dude.
I know.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
I know.
I don't think I mean, what do you do with those people besides lock them in a box and keep them from everyone else? I mean, I don't know what you do with insane people like that.
But now you're giving them a tool to legitimize their delusion. That's what we're doing. That's what Yelp is doing. That's my biggest problem with this. So some might say, okay, that's a single example, Mr. Henry. You just got off a story where we shouldn't look at the fringe groups or whatever. Well, possibly we shouldn't. But in any version of extremism, it's not the individuals that are enacting the violence. It's not the individuals that are actually taking action on those extreme worldviews that are the problem. The biggest problem come from the percentage of individuals that condone that behavior. That is where the overwhelming majority of the problem comes from, is the sizable portion of the populace that looks at that and says one of two things. Either, yeah, I like it, go get them. They may not do it themselves, but they have no problem with it. Or two, says, well, I don't really have much of I don't agree with it, but it's, I can see how it's being done. Anything that's okay with that behavior existing, you then inadvertently become complicit with it existing. And when Yelp gives a platform and a tool to legitimize that individual's delusion, and she gets a like and a share and a like and a heart and a like and a share, now all of a sudden it becomes so mainstream that it just is status quo. And that restaurant overnight, because of a completely fabricated reality, has become a racist establishment.
Because of a woman who needs a new jacket, a nice doctor, and a padded room, Right. And honestly, but I think part of the problem is, Grant, is some of these people who work at Yelp are like meta crazy more than her.
Oh yeah, man.
Like
right?
they're like the meta. Like what she is like entry level player, and they're the meta. Mm-hmm. Like they need to be in padded rooms, away from others, because they're dangerous. I mean, like, to me, that's like that. To me, you're so close to being a violent weirdo when you're that messed up. When you see reality, so maybe it's like my biological response. It's like someone who doesn't understand reality that much must be dangerous. But that was my first opinion. Is like, man, so like, how much different is it not seeing reality and her like actually threatening violence against these people? What is there just like I feel like there's just a thin line between that and good night,
Yeah. Eric said in Facebook, he's heard one stat that one bad review can sway up to 30 people against using a service. He also wanted to say that Windows are racist. Kelly said, say it again, so dumb. Eric said, wow, Asians being attacked again. Ask Harvard how that turned out. Yeah, that's the truth, right? Jonathan said, I'm so glad that the people are so woke that they understand what other cultures are. LMAO with a big laughing emoji. And then Kelly says, what a wonderful display of stupidity. And to Shine's point here is, we're finishing out the program here right within the hour. He just said a second ago, those people at Yelp are also a major problem. The final story I want to pull up here is from East Bay Express. Now, East Bay Express just does a good job of sort of, aggregating a multitude of stories that just express the one point that Yelp is kind of like the mafia. If you own a business or you operated with small business before, you know what I'm talking about. So think about this world where all Yelp is trying to do here is increase their market share. I don't know how much more abundantly clear that has to be to anybody. That's all they're trying to do. They're just trying to increase that stock price.
That's all any business is trying to do.
It's all any business is trying to do.
You think they do things because they think they're good people? No.
Dude, no. They don't care about solving racism. They don't care about labeling a restaurant as racist. They don't care about any of that stuff. They don't care who goes out of business or not. They're just trying to increase that market share and that stock price just a little bit more and a little bit more. Now, think about the video we just played. Of those false claims, those completely wildly, irrationally fabricated claims, coupled with Yelp's previous history of mafia-like tactics and what a disastrous outcome that could lead to for businesses. Just a few of the things I'm going through here and we'll end the program. So people leave fake reviews all the time. It shouldn't at all be surprising that Yelp, like any site that has these reviews, can be manipulated by people who want their businesses to have positive ratings. According to a 2015 study conducted by Harvard Business School, approximately 16% of all Yelp reviews have the potential to be fake. Most fake reviews are the result of business owners soliciting positive reviews from the people on sites like Craigslist in exchange for money, but they can also be negative reviews from people who have a vendetta against the business or business owner. So imagine if that Twitter person went and posted that video and then somehow posted another tweet later saying, "Attack him, get him, y'all, yay!" And then a bunch of fake reviews flood in and that business is out of business and not a single one of them has ever actually went into the doors of that business. I could see that happening very real. The second thing is they accept payments. Yelp accepts payments from businesses. Have you ever noticed at the top of your Yelp search results, there are listings with the word ad next to them? Those listings are advertisements from businesses who pay Yelp to feature their establishments at the top of relevant searches. That's not outrageous. That happens all the time. So he says, so pay attention to where you're clicking on. Advertised businesses may receive that priority slot over potentially better establishments. This shouldn't be surprising. Again, as Yelp is, after all, it's a publicly traded company whose main goal is to make money. But this also might not be the only way Yelp makes money. I've heard this story from several businesses that I know the owners of personally. Allegedly, Yelp employees have contacted businesses offering to remove negative reviews for a fee for advertising. Quote, though Yelp denies this is something they do, if Yelp is a business practice, this is extremely concerning, as it is not only puts vulnerable businesses in a bad place, but it also calls into question the integrity of the entire site. If this is true, it's obvious Yelp doesn't want you to know about it. And finally, they keep coming out on top, meaning these lawsuits, because they have a team of attorneys, and frankly speaking, it's near impossible to beat some of these First Amendment claims. Yelp has been sued multiple times, thousands of times. People have accused them of fraudulently misleading customers about the authenticity of quality reviews. Businesses have accused them of extorting them and extortive advertisement sales tactics, alleging that Yelp pressures them into paying for advertising. And there are multiple websites created by disgruntled people to band together against their review juggernaut. But so far, no matter how many times Yelp has been sued, again, because what they're doing is nearly impossible to win against, Yelp prevails every single time unscathed from these legal battles. Even the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, who revealed in 2014 that they received 2,046 complaints against Yelp in 1 year. In 1 year, they received over 2,000 complaints against a single company. They took no action against them. Still, it is concerning that there have been so many complaints against Yelp, and potential future lawsuits are not altogether unlikely. So again, I'm not even sure who I was trying to prove this to today. I just saw this come up and wanted to say one more time. I think in general, just don't trust some of the stuff you're seeing, all right? Don't trust some of the stuff you're seeing. Don't trust some of these people's motivations or whatever else. Figure out what the actual genuine motivation is. All right, hey, look, as we're going out with the program today, we love each and every one of y'all. Why we do what we do is to bring this community together, to tell stories, to shape lives, to grow, live life with each other, to laugh, learn, all that other stuff. My name is Mr. Henry. David Shine Thompson sitting over there. We love y'all. We'll see you on Monday. Peace.